everyone. This is Dr. T. Varlashmi discussing you regarding the Cobb-Douglas production function, loss of returns, and internal and external economies of scale. Actually, in every productional processes, there are certain elements has to consider by the producer, like what is the relationship between the inputs and outputs. In that one, the many production functions are all there. Fixed variables production function and variable production function, constant production function, short-term production function, long-term production function, linear homogeneous production functions. So like these various production functions are all there. So that in inputs, one element is constant and others are all any changing or all that one, then it is called as a linear homogeneous production function. If everything is fixed, then fixed production function. If any inputs are all changing or substituting with another variables, then it is called as the variable production function. In the way, if it is taken for the short-term time period, that is within a 1 year time period, the productional elements, inputs and outputs relationship has taken into the consideration, then it is called as the short-term production function. But if it has taken as the long-term activities into the consideration, and in long-term, the relationship between the inputs and outputs is called as the long-term productional function. All these out of all these productional functions, they are not taking the relationship between the one input level impact on the another input level impact. That is going to be analyzing through the Cobb-Douglas production function. So let's have the discussion on the Cobb-Douglas productional function. So if we see the brief history of this Cobb-Douglas production function, it is introduced by the Charles Cobb and Paul Douglas, two famous mathematicians and statisticians who discussed about the productional function with two variables. From the year 19th century to 1947, they have introduced this Cobb-Douglas production function. Still, in many of the organizations, they are all following this analysis for their productional function because of its accuracy and efficiency and easy adaptability for their productional activities. So here, mainly the productional function gives the analysis of relationship between the two input factors to the output factor, as well as the reduction in one input value and its impact on the another input value is also going to be analyzing easily with the help of this Cobb-Douglas production function. So that is the use of the Cobb-Douglas productional function, because it forms the widely use of the relationship between the outputs and two main inputs which are involved in the productional function. Let us say the mathematical expression of this Cobb-Douglas production function will be denoted with P is equals to, that is the total output or the total productional level is equals to B into L, one input to the power of alpha and another input to the power of another element. So we can see here, or in most of the textbooks we will see this kind of this formula, that is y or the p. So y is yielding, p is the total product, both are same. And whereas the c, it is a constant factor. It is a constant factor into multiplies with one variable to the power of another elasticity constant in multiplies with another variables like capitals to the power of one more constant factor. So here the output is depends on the one level of the productional factors and two determining inputs like labor and capital at their existing levels is called as the Cobb-Douglas productional function. For this analysis, it is better to be have with some example. Assume that the organization is constantly at any level of the demand. It is minimum to minimum producing 100 number of the products means. So that 100 number of the products in the total capacity of the productional level is assumes that it is 10%. So for example, 1000 number of the products is the maximum capacity of a machinery, and they can produce minimum to minimum 100 number of products, which means the 100 on 1000 is 10%. So that 10% constant value they can take here 0.1 into, and the main two ingredient inputs which are taking in that E1 is the labor and capital. For these productional levels, if the labors are all labor and capital is assumed that labor and capital are using for the 100%. If the already in the, as per the marginal rate of technical substitutions, if the labor is 1/3 position and the capital is 2/3 position, then it is equals to 100%. Then this 1/3 position is called as the constant of this labor, and 2/3 position of the is called as the constant for this capital. Then the same way, if the labor is increased by 2/3 position, then the capital might be reduced to 1/3 position. At that situations, 2 is the constant for the labor and 1 is the constant for capital. So like this, so for the total productional levels is depends on their constant level of the productional or the minimum level of the productional activity into one inputs and their capacity level, constant level, and another input level and the constant level. This can be measures for the various combinations of these inputs like labor as well as the capital, so that the productional element can be easily measures and accurately measures at what level the productional output they are all gaining. That is the use of this particular Cobb-Douglas productional function for the producer. Once, if we see the importance of this Cobb-Douglas productional function, it has been used widely in empirical studies of these manufacturing industries at inter level as well as outer level also. So that is within the productional activity, how to produce the maximum products, at what level of the input changes will have its impact on the output of the products, and that's mapping with the outside demand for that particular product can easily understand by applying these Cobb-Douglas productional elements to the productional factors by the producer, and it is going to be determining the relative relationship between the labor and capital and its impact on the total output. So if at any situations, if the producer is facing the shortage of the labor, then he can easily adjust that with another input of the capital, that is the machinery, technology, etc. And it is easy for the manager to take such kind of the decisions with the analysis of Cobb-Douglas productional function. And it is used to prove the Euler's theorem, that is equality theorem. The rate at which one particular input changes and its impact on the another input changes can easily prove with the help of the Cobb-Douglas productional factors. Here, whatever the parameters they are using, like a coefficients of this labor or the capital, they'll represents the elasticity coefficient of that particular inputs. So that means that gives the present availability of the inputs to the producer. How much of labor are available? What is its elasticity? That means what is its impact for the total output as well as the capital. How much of capital is available with the organization and its impact on the total output of the productional can easily known with a Cobb-Douglas productional function, and it is more than it can be extendable for not only for two variables, it can extendable for more than two variables are also. So let us say labor, capital, land. Three variables they can take. So if the land at what rate it is increases, and its impact on the capital and its impact on the land, and the combination of these three elements for the expected outputs can also be easily extendability is there with the Cobb-Douglas productional function. And once if we observe this graphical representation of the given elements, on y-axis they have taken the capital, on x-axis they have taken the labor. That is the combination of these two input factors. And there, if one input is going to be reducing, then automatically the another input has to be increased in its volume. That gives the various levels of the productional elements. The light green color of the combinations is a plotted area is showing that less scope for the production, and at that productional levels the combination of capitals and labor has provided. And if it takes this blue color plotted areas, here at this area or at this level of the combination of capital and the labor can provide the maximum output levels for the organization. So this is a clear picture of the plotting the relationship between the two variables by using this Cobb-Douglas productional function. And based on the demand for the products outside, the manufacturer can take these various combinations of this capital and labor. For example, there is a demand for the 800 goods in the outside market. So up to that level, 800 levels are only he will take. So for this combination of the capital as well as the combination of labor, so that there is a scope for getting maximum profits by using this analysis. So that is the importance of this Cobb-Douglas productional function for every producer. Next thing, we'll have a discussion on law of returns. If the inputs are assigned to any productional function and the outputs are all gaining, so that is the natural process of the productional elements. In this one, for the various combination of the inputs and to the yielding levels, there are certain stages are all there. One level of the combination of inputs will give more or increasing returns, more returns. And if that level of the combination is keep on going at certain level, it will become constant. And if the keep on this changing will happens later level, then it may lead to the diminishing returns to the production. So as a producer, it is his duty to know up to what level of the combination of the inputs will give the increasing returns to the organization, and which level is giving the constant returns, and what combination is giving adverse impact on the production should known by the producer for getting of maximum returns or the maximum output with the given inputs. Because the economy itself, it says that the maximum returns is the main objectivity of the any producer. So here, once if we observe this one, in the increasing returns, the law of increasing returns, constant returns and diminishing returns, in all the elements, there is a relationship between the inputs to the outputs and the combination of the inputs and their yielding capacities. That yielding capacities is combined as the law of the returns. In this law of the returns, there are three stages. One is increasing returns to scale, second one is constant returns to scale, and the third one is diminishing returns to scale. Increasing returns to scale means if 1 acre of land is there and 10 members are all working and they are able to produce 10 bags of the rice, and if the same 1 acre, if 15 members works, then they are able to produce 20 bags of the rice. So which means with a 50% increasing in the one input level is leads to the 100% increasing in the output level. So if that situation occurs in any productional level, that stage of the production will be called as increasing returns to scale. That is the first case. Second case is in 1 acre land, 10 members works, 10 bags of the rice if they are producing. In second, again in the same acre of the land, 15 members increases, 15 bags of the rice they are able to produce. That is the second phenomena. Here, there is a 50% increasing in the input level will lead to the same 50% increasing in the output level. That is called as constant returns to scale. That is, the same level of changing in the inputs will gives the same percentage level of changes in the output. That is called as the constant returns to scale. And in the third phenomena, once if we observe the third phenomena, in 1 acre of the land, 10 members works, then are able to yield 10 bags of the rice. In same 1 acre, if 10 members works and they are able to produce only 15 members works and they are able to work only 12 bags of the rice. There is a 50% increasing in the inputs will leads to the only 20% of increasing in the output. 20% of that one. That is called as diminishing returns to scale. So, like this, there are various phenomena and probability of situations for the inputs changes on the output changes. So, that changes are all called as the law of returns and stages of law of returns. Next. So, in this law of the returns, this graphical representation and tabular representation will give the clear description for the relationship between the inputs and its to the outputs and 3 stages of the law of the returns. Anyhow, here it has given 2 variable productional function, that is the labor changes as well as the capital units will also be changes. So, if one unit of the labor and 2 units of the capital will lead to the total production of the 10 units. Assume that this is the base for the comparison of further productional levels of the inputs. If the labor is increased by 2, which means 100% it is increasing, as well as the units of the capital is increased to 9, 3 is becoming 9. So, which means 100% there is a change in the labor and capital that leads to the 30 total output means 200% of increase we have observed on the total production. Same thing if 2 to 3 is there and 9 to 9, here the unit of the capital, one input is same but the another input level is increased by a 50%, one input only changed, that is 50% of increasing in the input level, that leads to the 60%, that is 30 to 60 means 100% of increasing in the total production. And if the input labor is changing as well as units of the capital is also changing, means 33% of these inputs are all changing when compared to this one 9 to the 12. So 33% of the inputs are all changing, that leads to the 80 units of the production, means only 33% of the total increasing in the productional function. In the second level, it is 25% of increasing in the inputs, and that leads to the 25% of the increasing in the total production. In the next case, if we see 20% increasing in the inputs may leads to only 10% of increasing in the productional levels. And the third level is 16.6% increasing level may lead to the 8.3% increasing in the total production. Once if we observe this, all these output changes in the total production, the first two cases will be called as increasing returns to scale, and the next two probabilities will be called as the constant returns to scale, and last two combination of the inputs phenomena is called as decreasing returns to scale, which is clearly plotted in this graphical representation, the phenomena of A, B, C and D cases. That is increasing returns to scale, constant returns to scale and decreasing returns to scale. So that is the law of the returns. As a producer, he must think about the what is the productional function and the relationship between the inputs and the combination of the inputs to the expected output yielding based on this law of the returns knowledge he has. Then the elements or the significant factors to get the maximum returns by the producer is the concept of internal and external economies of scale. So which means as a producer, where he has to concentrate, at internal level where he has to concentrate, and at external level what he has to concentrate to get the maximum benefits, especially at the productional level, is called as the internal and external level of economies of scale. So the internal economies of scale gives the knowledge of advantageous elements at the input levels or the inner levels of the organization, and external level will gives the advantageous advantageous situations of the company from the outside of the level. For example, inside for one X company, they have the best employees to work and more experienced and knowledgeable, stable, consistency employees are all there. The employees are all internal elements of that one. That is advantage for that organization. If they more concentrates on this employee benefits and that one, then there is a more scope for the getting of maximum output. Then that employee factor will become the internal economies of scale for X company. In the same way, its competitors are very less than this X company, and the investors are all loyal investor for the company, and the very attractive customers are all there for that organization, and government is ready to invest or give more support to that particular organization. Then these are all will become the external economies of scale for the organization. So that's way the internal economies of the scale for the organization will gives the benefit of for the expansion of the firms itself, and long run average cost can be reduced, as well as efficiencies from longer scale productions, and it can predefines this the range of these financial and economical elements. So all these are all the some of the concentrative areas and the benefits they can gain from the internal economies of scale. And for the external economies of scale, it is more useful for the expansion of the industry, benefits most when compared to all the firms, that is their market share values, and aggregation of these economies are all important and helps in the expansion and rapid growth of the business in many cities. So these are all analysis can be done with the knowing of external economies of scale for the organization. So internal economies of scale will give the knowledge of where the company is able to reduce the cost and increase the output, and where they can get maximum benefit without of that one. So the internal economies will more they're strengthening financial aspects, they're strengthening managerial aspects, marketing strategies, purchasing powers, as well as the technological strength of the organization. These are the most of the internal economies of the scale for the business. Not only that one, their operational and productional elements, human resources, etc., will also be a part of the internal economies of scale for the organization. If they strengthens in that areas like marketing, operations, productional elements, financial, managerial, purchasing, technological elements, then it is easy for them to get maximum profits. And in the external wise, if they concentrates on the long term relationship in the markets and good relationship with the competitors and as well as with the government and with the investors, giving maximum benefits, if they are able to give the maximum benefits to the external parts of that one, then it is easy for them to get the more expansions of the business activities. So if not along with that one, the infrastructure facilities as well as their investment long term assets increasing may also help for the development of external economies of scale by the organization. So that's about the internal, external economies of scale, loss of three stages of the loss of the returns, and Cobb-Douglas production function and its importance. Thank you.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.